January in Brooklyn always felt colder inside the apartment than outside. The wind pushed against the old windows, making a faint whistling sound that had become part of the background noise of our lives. On most mornings, David would still be asleep beside me when the garbage trucks rattled down the street, but that Tuesday was different. When I opened my eyes, his side of the bed was already empty. The bathroom light was on. Steam slipped under the door, and I could hear the shower running. I glanced at the clock on the nightstand.
6:47 a.m.
Too early for David. He had never been a morning person. In 4 years together, 3 years dating, and almost 1 year married, I could count on one hand the number of times he had woken up before me. But that morning he had. I lay there staring at the ceiling, half awake, listening to the water running behind the bathroom door. Brooklyn, outside our building, was already alive. Trucks grinding gears, distant horns, someone shouting to a neighbor on the sidewalk. Normal sounds. Normal morning. Nothing about that moment warned me that my life was about to split into 2 parts. Before that Tuesday and everything after. The shower turned off. A minute later, the bathroom door opened and David stepped out wrapped in a towel, steam following him into the bedroom. "You're awake," he said. "Early start," I asked. "Big client meeting in Manhattan." He smiled. That smile had always been his greatest weapon.
Warm.
Confident. Safe. The kind of smile that convinced me to trust him with my entire life. If I had known what I know now, I would have watched that smile more carefully. David dressed quickly, navy suit, silver tie, the expensive one I bought him for his birthday. He moved around the room with unusual urgency. "I'll probably be late tonight," he said while adjusting his watch. "Another meeting? Dinner with the team?" I nodded without thinking. Trust can make you accept explanations that don't deserve to be believed. He grabbed his leatherwork bag by the door and paused for a moment, his hand resting on the handle. Then he looked back at me. Something passed across his face. So quickly I almost missed it.
Guilt.
Or maybe regret. At the time I told myself it was nothing. He kissed my forehead and walked out. The door clicked shut. And just like that, the man I loved disappeared from my life. Though I didn't realize it yet. The entire day passed without a message from him. That wasn't unusual. David's job consumed him. Financial consulting meant long hours, endless calls, meetings with investors and clients. By 10 p.m., I sent a simple text. "Home soon?" No reply. At midnight, I called. Straight to voicemail. I told myself his phone battery died. Or he fell asleep at a hotel after the meeting. People create comforting explanations when the truth is too painful to imagine. Morning came. Still nothing. I called again. Voicemail. By noon, fear had begun replacing confusion. At 2:47 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. "Is this Mrs. Collins?" a woman asked. "Yes." "This is Detective Marquez with the NYPD. I need you to come downtown. There's been an incident involving your husband." The world narrowed to a single point of sound. "What kind of incident?" I whispered. "Please come to the station. I'll explain everything." The police station smelled like burnt coffee and old paperwork. Detective Marquez sat across from me in a gray interview room. "Your husband was involved in a car accident last night," she said. The words echoed strangely. "Is he alive?"
Yes.
"He's in critical condition at Brooklyn Methodist Hospital." Relief and panic collided inside my chest. Then she continued. "There was another passenger in the vehicle." My stomach tightened. A woman named Elena Rossi. The name meant nothing to me. "She didn't survive," the detective said quietly. Silence filled the room. "She had hundreds of messages from your husband on her phone." I stared at the table. "Mrs. Collins, were you aware your husband was having an affair?" For years of memories began rearranging themselves in my mind. Late meetings, work trips, the phone always face down. I had trusted him. That had been my first mistake. The hospital was worse. Machines beeped steadily beside David's bed while he lay unconscious, bruised and pale. I sat beside him for hours, not crying, not speaking, just watching the rise and fall of his chest, thinking about a woman I had never met.
Elena Rossi. Who was she?
How long had they been together? Did he love her? When David finally woke up 2 days later, the first emotion I saw in his eyes wasn't confusion. It was fear. "Hey," I said softly. "What happened?" he asked.
Car accident.
His eyes moved around the room. Then I asked the question. "The woman who died, who is she?" He went completely still. "I don't know what you're talking about." It was the first lie he told me after waking up, but not the last. The truth started revealing itself piece by piece. 3 days later, Detective Marquez returned with new information. Phone records, hundreds of messages, photos,
Plans.
My husband hadn't just been cheating. He had built an entire second life. But something else caught the detective's attention. Financial transfers, large ones. Money moving through accounts connected to Elena Rossi. Accounts David had access to. When the detective left, she gave me one piece of advice. "If I were you," she said, "I'd start looking closely at your husband's finances." That night, after David fell asleep in his hospital bed, I unlocked his phone. What I found changed everything. Hidden accounts, fake companies. Millions of dollars moved through something called Rossi Holdings. Elena's last name. My husband wasn't just cheating. He was stealing. And Elena had been part of it. Or maybe she had discovered it. The funeral was 3 days later. I didn't tell David I was going. The church in Queens was small and quiet. At the front stood a young woman who looked almost identical to the photos I had found online. Elena's sister. Her name was Mia Rossi. After the service, I approached her. "I'm Sarah Collins," I said. Her eyes hardened immediately. "You're his wife." "Yes." "I didn't know about you," she said quietly. "My sister thought he was single." I showed her the evidence on my phone. Messages. Bank transfers. Accounts under Elena's name. Mia's expression slowly changed. Sadness turned into something colder. "What are you going to do?" she asked. I thought about it for a moment. Then I told her the truth. "I'm going to destroy him." She looked at the screen again. Then back at me. "Good," she said, "because I want to help." And that was the moment everything changed. Two women who had both been lied to. Two women who had both lost something because of the same man. And somewhere in Brooklyn, David Collins still believed he was the smartest person in the room. He had no idea that the two people who knew his secrets had just decided to work together, and by the time we finished, his entire life would collapse. When people talk about revenge, they imagine shouting, broken plates, dramatic confrontations. But real revenge is quieter than that. Real revenge requires patience. For the next 3 weeks, Mia Rossi and I became something neither of us expected: partners. Not friends at first. Just two women connected by the same truth. David Collins had lied to both of us. And now we needed proof. Mia had access to things I didn't. Her sister's laptop. Cloud backups. Emails David believed had disappeared forever. One evening in Mia's small apartment in Queens, she opened a folder on her computer and turned the screen toward me. "You need to see this." It was a message thread between David and Elena. Hundreds of messages. Most were exactly what I expected. Romantic lies, promises of a future, discussions about leaving me. But one message stood out. "David, the transfer goes through tomorrow. After that, we're done." Elena, "Are you sure this is safe?" David, "Trust me. Once the money moves, nobody will know." My stomach tightened. "How much money?" I asked. Mia scrolled further. Another message appeared. "David, 2 million." The room went silent. $2 million. That wasn't an affair. That was a crime. The next step was Detective Marquez. When we showed her the messages, she leaned back in her chair and exhaled slowly. "This is bigger than I thought," she said. "How big?" Mia asked.
Fraud.
"Embezzlement. Possibly money laundering." "And Elena?" I asked quietly. The detective's expression darkened. If she discovered what he was doing, she might have become a problem. The words hung heavily in the air. "You think he killed her," Mia said. "I think we need proof." The financial investigation took weeks. The FBI became involved. David's company records revealed missing investor funds, money that had quietly disappeared over 2 years. All of it moved through accounts under Elena's name, Rossi Holdings, a company that existed only on paper, a company David controlled. "Your husband is smart," Detective Marquez told me one afternoon. "He created a perfect scapegoat. If anyone looked closely, Elena would take the blame. But she died before that could happen." Exactly. The plan formed slowly. Detective Marquez would tell David the crash investigation was officially closed. Just a tragic accident. But the financial investigation? That was different. And the FBI wanted to talk to him. "When people like David feel trapped," the detective explained, "they make mistakes." 3 days later, David came home early. I could see the panic in his face before he even spoke. "Sarah," he said, dropping his keys on the counter, "something weird happened today." "Oh." Federal investigators contacted my office. I kept my expression calm.
About what?
"Money transfers. Accounts I've never even heard of." He was lying again. I could hear it clearly now. "They want to interview me tomorrow," he continued. "That sounds serious." He sat down heavily across from me. "Sarah, there's something I should tell you." I waited. He rubbed his forehead. "The woman who died in the accident."
Elena.
We were seeing each other. I didn't react. "I made a mistake," he said quickly. "A terrible mistake. A year-long mistake?" His eyes widened slightly. "How did you? You told her you were divorced." He froze. "And you told her you loved her." Silence filled the room. "But the money," I continued. "That's the real story, isn't it?" His face turned pale. "What money?" "The $2 million you stole." For a moment, I thought he might faint. "You went through my phone," he whispered. "I went through everything." His eyes changed. The warmth disappeared. And suddenly I saw the real man underneath. Cold. Calculating. "You should have left it alone," he said quietly. "I tried. For 4 years. You have no idea what you've done." I stood up and walked to the door. Then I opened it. Detective Marquez stood in the hallway. 2 FBI agents stood beside her. David stared at them, then at me. "You set me up." I shook my head slowly.
No, David.
"You did that yourself." They arrested him in the living room.
Fraud.
Embezzlement. Money laundering. Later, when the investigation expanded, the charges grew larger. Evidence showed David had pressured Elena into opening accounts in her name. He moved stolen money through those accounts. And when Elena started asking questions, the timing of the crash suddenly looked less like an accident. The trial lasted 6 weeks. Experts explained the money trail. Detectives described the crash. Mia testified about her sister. And I told the jury everything. About the lies. About the messages. About the moment I realized the man I loved had never really existed. When the jury returned with the verdict, the courtroom was silent. Guilty on all counts.
Fraud.
Embezzlement. Manslaughter. The judge sentenced David Collins to 25 years in federal prison. He looked at me as they led him away. For a moment, I saw something familiar in his eyes. Not anger. Not regret.
Fear.
The same fear I saw in the hospital when he first woke up. Only now he knew why. A year later, the Brooklyn apartment felt different again. Not empty. Not quiet. Just peaceful. Mia and I still met for coffee every month. 2 women connected by a story neither of us asked for. Sometimes we talked about Elena. Sometimes we talked about nothing at all. Life moves forward like that. Slowly. Quietly. But one thing never changes. The truth always finds its way out. And when it does, even the smartest liar in the room eventually runs out of places to hide.